go ahead and get started with our white coat ceremony for nurses. I want to welcome you. We have 15 sharp-looking students here today for our 7th cohort in the nursing department for TLU. And this ceremony is a landmark, a hallmark event for the students coming in. And so we want to welcome you to this special day. Of course, we're going to have a nice lunch, and then we'll have a program. I'd like to start the program with a welcome from Dr. Debbie Cottrell. She's our Vice President for Academic Affairs, and we'll turn the time over to her.
I am so pleased today to be offering my congratulations to our 15 students who are receiving their white coats. This is a very important moment to acknowledge the path that you have chosen to take and to recognize the work that you're going to do both to enter and strengthen the nursing profession. TLU is proud to be preparing future nurses and to be contributing well-trained, intelligent, committed, caring individuals to this most noble of professions. I know that you all will be an important part of this effort at TLU. And I also know that it won't always be easy. In fact, it may never be easy. But still, I encourage you to embrace this opportunity and to do so knowing that you are preparing, as we like to say here at TLU, to learn boldly, to live to inspire, and to make our world better. So congratulations today. Thank you for what you're undertaking, and thank you for all the good you will do in the future.
I'm going to say the invocation, and then we'll let everybody go and get their lunch and drinks, and then enjoy the lunch, and then after we're done eating, we'll continue with the program, okay? Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this opportunity to be here together as students and faculty, administrators and staff of the nursing program at Texas Lutheran University. We're grateful for the bounteous blessings for this meal that we're about to partake of. We're grateful for the students that have dedicated their time and their talents to come and learn the art of nursing. And we pray that God will watch over them and bless them as they progress in the program, that they will remain motivated and dedicated, that their minds will be open to the learning that they are about to embark in, and that they will feel accomplished with each step of the way. We pray that the faculty will be inspired to meet their needs and to be in tune to the things that the students need to learn, and be able to communicate it in a way that's understanding for the students, and that there will be harmony and teamwork amongst the faculty and the students to make our program strong. We pray that the students may be able to develop the skills necessary: communication, critical thinking, test-taking skills, and patient care skills, that they will become patient-centered, and most of all, that they will develop a sense of professionalism, ethics, and moral attitudes that will carry them far in the profession nursing as the most trusted profession. Father, we pray that God will bless this food, that it may give us nourishment and strength and do us the good we need. And we're thankful for the opportunities that education gives to us, and that Texas Lutheran has opened her doors to all of us here. And these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. So what we're going to do is Dr. Zions is going to give us an overview about what the white coat means and the symbolism of it. And then Dr. Elon will introduce our speakers. After which, Dr. Whitney Bischoff, Dr. Kimberly Griffith, and Ms. Cecilia Trinidad will do your presentation of the white coat. And finally, the oath, Dana Salinas Harrison. So you'll get your white coat and you'll line up here, and then you'll take your oath with Dana Salinas Harrison, Ms. Salinas Harrison, walking you through your oath, and then we'll have some closing remarks by Amy Beckett.
So take your program with you when you go get your coat, because the oath is on the program.
Oh yeah, bring your program up with you when you put your coat on, so when you're standing up, you can do your oath.
bit tall. Okay, the first white coat ceremony took place at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons at the urge of Dr. Arnold Gold. Dr. Gold's foundation also collaborated with the American Association of Colleges of Nursing to support and adopt a white coat ceremony for nursing. The white lab coat holds significant meaning for healthcare professionals and the people we serve in our community. The white coat identifies the wearer as a member of a community of professionals who are committed to scientific rigor and evidence-based practice and patient-centered compassionate care. The white coat ceremony serves as a constant reminder that despite significant achievements in science and technology, that it's all about patient care. We, the faculty and staff of Texas Lutheran University's nursing program, are proud to present white coats to our 7th cohort. When you receive this white coat, please remember the following. You will be a member of an interdisciplinary team who will work in a collaborative manner with other healthcare professionals to ensure safe patient-centered care. That you will promote an environment in which human rights and values, customs, spiritual beliefs, and individual patient, family, and communities are respected. That you will ensure that the patient receives sufficient information on which to be based consent for care-related treatment. That you will hold in confidence personal information and use good judgment when sharing this information. You will share with society and the responsibility for initiating, supporting action that meet health and social needs of the public, in particular, those of vulnerable populations.
Good afternoon. I have the privilege of getting to introduce our two special speakers that are with us today. I'll start with Miss Holly Weber Johnson. Holly Weber Johnson has experienced healthcare in a variety of settings for over 34 years. Her clinical background includes emergency medicine, cath lab, intensive care, level 2 trauma, neurosciences, electrophysiology, and women's service lines. Holly graduated from the University of Texas in 1987 with her BA in biology and worked with Austin Emergency Medical Services for 14 years in a variety of roles. She graduated from the University of Texas Nursing School in 1995 and achieved her master's in nursing administration from the University of Texas at Arlington. Prior to joining the Methodist Healthcare System, Holly worked in HCA in the Central West Texas Division at St. David's Healthcare. In her role as a manager, director, and senior leader, she worked 22 years to engage, empower, and lead staff to ensure quality, safe, exceptional care each patient deserves. She joined Methodist Healthcare in 2016 as the Associate Chief Nursing Officer and became the Chief Nursing Officer of Northeast Methodist Hospital, located in the rapidly growing region of North San Antonio. We also have Ms. Kimberly Reddish. Kim graduated from the University of Tennessee in 1997 with her BSN after a short career in finance. Her experiences in her nursing role included critical care, dialysis, level 1 trauma, education, and emergency services. She then completed her MSN in advanced practice from Southern Adventist University in 2010. Kim has developed quality programs and performance improvement programs at a system level where she developed a quality onboarding and training program for the system. She has operated both inpatient and outpatient clinical departments over the past 10 years. In 2016, her critical care leadership positioned her to move into the role of National Director of Critical Care for HCA, where she developed critical care programs and councils across the hospital system. She then quickly transitioned to the AVP of nursing practice at the national level, where she partnered with stakeholders to lead the growth and expansion of nursing and clinical quality programs for more than 170 HCA hospitals. She has served on a large number of diverse facility and system committees. In September of 2018, She joined Northeast Methodist Hospital as the Vice President of Clinical Nursing Operations and looks forward to working with the current team on growth initiatives. She is currently working on her DNP and has completed an additional year towards her Doctorate of Business. So I would like to welcome both Kimberly and Holly.
So I'm Holly Weber Johnson, in case you get us confused, but that, after all those years, it makes you realize how old I am. So, I'm very excited to be here. I got to meet Dr. Lewis this last year and Dr. Long and several of you, and we have been very excited about your partnership with Texas Lutheran University. We have many students that we've had join us as patient care technicians, and then they became our nurses, and we're extremely thrilled that we have many students there every day right now, and that it's going well. So I wanted to just, I'm not really speaking a lot this morning. I really want to hear Kim. So, but I didn't want to miss an opportunity to make a relationship. So I wanted to tell you a short story. I attended a funeral this weekend, or should I say a celebration of life, for Vicki Miller, who was the Med-Surg director at Methodist Medical Center for 12 years. Her daughter told a story, and I wanted to share it with you. When they were young, they went to a small town, and she said, think of a small town and think a lot smaller. They worked all day outside, and they had nothing to drink. Things were closed, but they found one Coke machine in town. And Vicki only had enough money for one Coke, and they were all going to split it. There were 5 of them. They put the money in, one Coke came out, and then the money came out. They got another Coke. They put the money in, the money came out, they got another Coke. They put the money in, Coke came out, and the money. Until all 5 of them had a drink, and then it didn't come out anymore. And Vicki turned to her kids and she said, don't you ever doubt that God knows my name. He knows Vicki Miller. He knows exactly what I need. And guess what, kids? He knows every one of your names. And I tell you that story because believing that made her a better nurse and a better leader. And I tell you that to say you're going to have times when you doubt yourself. You're just starting this nursing program. And what that says is you're more than enough. You're more than enough to be exceptional. And God is more than enough to make you that way. So He does know your name. And I tell you that from another standpoint, that one of the wonderful things about being a nurse is that many people are going to remember your name the rest of their lives. When you nurse, even as a student, you are going to have interactions with people that change their world and their life. People will remember you. You've become a part of a story, and it's a privilege to be a part of it. And you're going to remember their name, and you're going to remember theirs. If I had one wish for us as nurses, it would be that we always embrace how very important we are. Everything we do, and particularly the things you learn in school, everything that you do, that you learn in school, makes a difference in the outcome of the patient. From what you read in the chart, to washing your hands. And here's the other significant thing, and that's why it's my wish for nursing. Everything we don't do that we learn in school impacts the outcome of our patients. And I think that's why you're here today, to celebrate the beginning of a journey that's wonderful, the beginning of a story that's not just yours, but like Vicki Miller's, will be for thousands of people over many, many years. You heard those numbers from me, 34. I can't tell you the number of patients I saw in an ambulance, in a hallway, in a bed, in passing. But they knew my name, and I was very, very privileged to know theirs. and I welcome you to this profession, and I know that you'll look forward to the things Kim has to share. Thank you.
Because I am technologically tied to a computer all day, and it kind of keeps me on track. But I have to say, this is why I really love to work with Holly, the stories like this that you get to hear. And it helps me to kind of know we're in sync, because we're thinking about some of the same things as I came in. It's fine. As I came in to kind of think about what we wanted to talk about today, and it is that making the difference in people's lives. It's definitely one of the most important things you do, but to also listen to that voice, that calling, as cheesy as it is. I was asked to kind of share a little bit of my why, and then kind of what my journey has been. And I'll do that quickly, because as I sat at this table, which was great, I heard a little bit about what you want to know as well. So I want to give you the opportunity to ask us some questions. But for me, my why started back, when I was a child. I don't think I realized it, and it goes back to that knowing that there is a bigger plan for us. I actually was that child who stayed with my grandmother whenever she was sick. I can remember passing up an opportunity to go to the circus when I was 10 because my grandma was going to be home alone. I can remember when I was a teenager, my aunt, whose husband had just passed away, all of my cousins were going to a concert, but she was upset, she was grieving, even her daughter was going, so I passed that opportunity up. And I think you probably all knew when you were young as well that you were a caregiver. I make a joke that nurses are actually codependent. So the first point that I want to give to you, as I thought about what I wanted to share with you today, was what are those things that I can give you as tips? And that first tip is really take care of yourself and be resilient. We definitely take care of others, but we don't always think about ourselves. Now, I didn't miss out on the circus, and I didn't really miss anything from not going to that movie, but there are times in my life that as a caregiver, you take a lot home with you. You take care of patients, you really care for people, but what I'll tell you about my why that I'm kind of getting to is I didn't really listen to that. I never accepted that I was a caregiver. I got to high school and I actually had a chemistry teacher who was a medic in the military. He was a sergeant in the military, very, very smart man, who said, "You're gonna make a great nurse someday, Kim." And I said, "I am not gonna be a nurse." I was in denial, complete and total denial. Then maybe a year after I got out of high school, I'm in college, I haven't declared a major, taking prerequisites, and my father was diagnosed with cancer. He was 39 years old at the time of his diagnosis. I was 19. He died the following year from his stage 4 lung cancer. And I think about that time even now. And literally, I watched my mother be a nurse at his bedside. I went to his house every day when he was ill, helped transport him back and forth. I was really trying to be a caregiver there as well. And I'll never forget the last day that I saw him outside of a hospital. We actually got in the car and stopped at his house, and we're traveling to the hospital, and he knew probably this was his last time to ever be in a car. I could tell that. So he said, "Stop at the store, I want to get a drink." So we stopped, and I thought, he can't even walk. He was 5'11", and at the time he weighed 135 pounds. So of course that was many years ago. Cancer care has come a long way, right? I sometimes think if only he had been diagnosed today, it might have been a little better. But I remember my mom saying, "Let me go in and get it." And he said, "No, I'm going in the store." And I think back on that moment, and it was his dignity and all of those things that he was grappling with. And so I said, "Mom, just let him go." But I followed him in, and I pretty much found myself at 20 years old carrying my dad practically back to the car. Probably at that moment was the time that I probably think back on what has made me a good nurse, is that I think of all of the dignity that he lost through that entire 2 years of his life, but also think about how we can really take that into our practice today. Now, I know I've told you that it took me a while to realize I was going to be a nurse, so I went back to school, declared my major, accounting. So thought I was going to say nursing, right? Totally not ready still. And so that's the other point I want to give you when you go into your field and you start to look at people. Meet them where they are. They're not always ready. I always knew I was going to be a nurse probably somewhere deep inside, but I fought it and I fought it, and I still didn't go back to nursing school for 5 years. And like Holly mentioned, and I'd actually included it in my conversation today, people will always remember who you are. And so I thought back, I was actually a pretty successful credit manager for 5 years, won a lot of awards, and then I decided I had healed enough and I thought, it's time. I went to nursing school. It was the best decision of my life. But I take those moments that I watched nurses care for him, that I watched all of the pain and suffering that he went through. And I think about what Maya Angelou said when she said, people may not remember your name, but they will always remember how you made them feel. So what I remember from that experience was nurses took great care of my father, and I don't remember most of their names, but I watched them. I watched them transition from when I first saw him be diagnosed to being light, getting to know him. And then I remember that last walk into the hospital, and it was a much more reverent tone. People were calm. People knew what we needed at that moment. People knew that he was about to make that decision to just do palliative care, morphine drip, and that would be it. He would never leave the hospital. So as I thought about my own journey, which is why I ran from it for so long, what I would tell you is don't be afraid. You will know. As long as you have some empathy, connect with patients. It's the most important thing you'll ever do, is to really think back on moments in your life where you just really needed someone to meet you where you were. You weren't ready to hear a diagnosis, or that's not necessarily about you, but know that they're not always ready to hear it. But when they are, then your tone can change and you can really give them whatever they need at that moment. That's what I was so afraid of. What if I don't know what to do? What if I don't have the skill? What if I walk into this room and someone's faced with death or a diagnosis and I don't have the words? Well, you don't have to have those. What you have to have is just empathy, caring. People know that. We talk about something at Northeast Methodist, and Holly and I talk some days about we get called out on compassionate and connected care, but I really think it's about empathy. And if patients really think that we're with them in that moment, then we really can't do anything wrong. So I ask you to go into their rooms with confidence, to really share with them whatever it is that you feel like you need to share in that moment. But as long as you're connecting with them as a person, looking past the skill, that will come with muscle memory as you start to learn how to tackle all of your tasks together. But never ever forget there's a human and their family there. Those are the things that will make you always do the right thing. I think Dr. Lewis said it. It's all about patient-centered care, and you can't go wrong. The skills will come. Don't be afraid. The confidence will come. So that's kind of my why, but I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. That got me into nursing, which was amazing, and I stayed at the bedside for several years and dabbled in a little bit of everything. I was a critical care nurse. Then I kind of went on to train in dialysis, did some training in health and case management, didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like this table that I got to meet when I first started. I was gonna be an L&D nurse. Well, that did not work out. That was not my door. So I actually went into critical care, ended up staying there for a while, like I said, but then I was convinced I needed to do something more, something different, and I'll tell you, don't rush. You don't have to know these things. I actually went back to school to be an educator, like 3 classes to having a master's in education. I'm just a lifelong learner. The next point I'll tell you to grab onto. And then I became, 9/11 had happened, and I became what was considered the educator for the county that I was in, for the entire county. Kind of left the bedside for a year and was there working with the CDC post 9/11. I was considered a consultant to Homeland Security within my county, and actually had all the mass prophy stores there. I learned a lot about antidotes and how much they cost and where we stored them. So it was a lot of fun for about 3 months. And then it gets a little boring. So always challenge yourself. Next point, never stop learning and never be afraid to take on a new challenge. So I stayed there for about a year. I will not deny that. You'll kind of hear my journey. I can't stay away from the hospital or the bedside. I love to be near it. And as I watched the Life Force helicopters, I was working next door to one of the largest level 1 trauma centers in the Southeast. So as I was watching all of their Life Force helicopters land, well, I just got up at lunch break one day and walked across the street and said, I'd love to be a nurse in the trauma unit. And you get a job pretty quickly when you have critical care experience and you walk in, because I don't know if any of you are aware, there's a nursing shortage today, but there's been a nursing shortage for about 35 years or longer, right, Holly? It may look a little different today, but it's always there, and that's the next thing you need to know. There are always opportunities in nursing, so never stop challenging yourself. Went to work right away, and then I thought, how cool, maybe I could be a life flight nurse. Would love that. I'm an adrenaline seeker. You know, Holly was a medic and worked and drove ambulances for a while. Let her leave the parking lot before you do. She still drives.
Stick to your script.
We have fun. Nursing is fun. That's what you should always know. You'll have a team and a family that you work with. But I decided, once I realized that I had to sleep at the hospital for 3 days at a time and be ready to go out, and they worked like really long hours, I thought maybe that's not my door either. But I had the opportunity to be a CRNA. An anesthesiologist approached me and said, hey Kim, you've worked in the trauma unit for a while. That's what they do. They kind of cycle you through into CRNA school from there. So I said, sure, I'd love to go to CRNA school. How cool is that? New opportunity. Well, they offered to pay for me to go to school. I actually went and passed and got the appropriate score for my MAT, which was the entrance exam for that particular program. I went and spent a day in the OR. Guess what? That was not my door. Absolutely not my door. So I tell you all of these things to say never get discouraged. Your doors will come. Just keep trying things. Keep looking for what fits for you. So I actually stayed there, and of course, now that I've tried so many different things, and I just don't know what my next niche is going to be, keep in mind, I stayed at the bedside for about 10 years and loved every minute of it, still love to be there. I did what you do next. What most people do today, I applied for a nurse practitioner program. So I did train, and I did complete that one. I did get certified and actually became a nurse practitioner for a very short period. I decided that wasn't my door either. So I spent my training in the ER. And I tell you this because in all of these jobs I've had, I was always quickly the charge nurse on the unit. I was always the leader, always asked to take it on management plans, but just like when I didn't want to go to nursing school and I kind of tucked that away, I didn't want to do leadership either, I didn't think. Well, I had some life changes, ended up going to South Texas to work as an educator while I finished my nurse practitioner degree. And there I met what you'll find to be your most important people in your life, and those are your mentors. So next point, know who those people are. They're your teachers in this room, they're your senior students, they're the people you encounter during your clinical rotations. They're the people that you see as leaders and managers on those units. Just ask. People will be willing to mentor you. But I met a CNO there while I was helping to bring in foreign nurses, and I'll tell you, you learn a lot about the country you live in when you onboard nurses from other countries. I answered questions like, what if the patient can't afford to have an IV pump? What if they don't have the money to get equipment or clean bandages? And so part of my teaching and the course curriculum that I wrote to bring those nurses in was also assimilating them to this country. So it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. But then I realized I was in this leadership position. I actually worked with the CNO, and we started working on value analysis programs, shared governance programs, and all of a sudden I was leading. I didn't realize that's what she was making me do. But and then I knew that that was my door, and I loved it. So I knew about this amazing company, HCA, that Holly and I have worked at for a while. I came from Tennessee originally. So if you're from Tennessee, you know who HCA is. They own 180 plus hospitals across the country. So I applied for a job in Florida as a manager, as a director, and I was politely told no on a call with a CEO. Next lesson, Never let a barrier or an obstacle get in your way. Be persistent and resilient. The CEO, when I called him, I actually gained an interview. I had shared in my resume all the wonderful things I had done. When I talked to him on the phone, he said, you know, within 10 minutes he was getting off the phone, and I just think I need someone with a lot of experience. And then I was just devastated. What, are you kidding me? I've been doing all these things. So, next point of contention, write your resume as you go. Keep up with the things you're doing. But I got off the phone and I thought, I don't even know what he was looking for. So I dialed the number right back. I had had a phone interview with him, and his secretary did the thing that all good secretaries do. I'm sorry, he's busy, he's in a meeting, because she's not gonna let me just randomly call and talk to him. I said, that cannot be true, because I just got off the phone and we were scheduled for another 40 minutes. So please just ask him if he will talk to me and give me feedback. A mentoring moment. That's what's so important in your lives and your careers, even going into your clinical rotations, those mentoring moments. I said, what would have made this difference? So what I ask you to also do as you're training, learning, listen to people's feedback, allow people to coach you. He gave me some wonderful advice. I knew about HCA. I thought they have to have a lot of job openings in 180 hospitals in leadership. So I applied for like 20. I got 3 interviews and got 2 offers. So I packed it up, went to New Orleans, and became the manager of critical care at Tulane Medical Center, which was just the start of my career, getting to lead in multiple departments. So I have led in ER, ICU, inpatient. You heard the actual introduction, but I've gotten a lot of opportunity from just really being persistent, resilient, never let anyone tell you you can't do something. Always have the confidence. When you're faced with patients that ask you questions like, have you ever done this before? Do you know what you're doing? Because the minute they know you're a student, they're gonna ask you those things. Not all of them, but some of them will. Be confident, say, yes, I've been training for this for the last 3 years, because you have. And then of course, if you need help, find your mentors. Mentors are important. I don't want to spend a lot of the rest of our time talking about me, because you know enough about me today, right now, and what we've shared, but I do want to give you the opportunity to ask Holly and myself questions, because you're going into this amazing career and journey where you get to actually shape the future of healthcare. And one of the questions I did get here from Celeste was, what are job opportunities within nursing? And I will tell you, and of course being back in school and I'm reading the IOM reports a lot, and all of you've heard the IOM reports, right? Or have you even thought about that yet? That's really about how we're gonna shape the future of nursing. And I do believe every person in this room will shape the future of nursing. And it's through opportunities like program management, informatics, and technology. Nursing doesn't just happen at the bedside. There are a multitude of careers, but there are definitely bedside careers, and you can actually work at companies like the one that Holly and I work at, where you can do anything, because they contain and manage everything within that huge system. You do have to be mobile sometimes, but the opportunities and the job descriptions are limitless if you have an interest in anything in this world. I've worked at the corporate office with nurses who work for quality on projects that have resulted in research, that have changed the way that we practice as nurses. And what the IOM report tells us is that we as nursing have to really change the models of healthcare and the way that healthcare is delivered in this country. And I believe probably some of the people sitting in this room will be a big part of that. So it's time to get your white coats on here in just a few minutes, but we'll take some questions. What do you want to know about your upcoming futures and events? Quiet. You all ask me lots of questions.
Shall
while
we
you
come
sit
sit at
there.
the tables?
Shall we
and
sit at
then-
the tables? What do you want to know? Someone asked me here, it was Stephanie, I believe, what are the things that we don't know about nursing? It is this grand profession. It's that feel-good moment. It's where you actually get to hold the hands of people when they're at their worst. You'll see them at their best. I've seen, I've had to console moms who come into their child that's not gonna survive, as we're calling organ procurement, after a traumatic accident. But there are glorious moments as well, and you get to see lots of recovery. But there are things like dealing with conflict in nursing. It's not all easy or grand or glorious, so what questions can we answer for you? Yes, ma'am.
So what are some, you spoke a little bit about educational things, what are other untraditional places that one with the nursing, an RN after their NCLEX might seek to do that they don't realize our positions are out there? That they're not necessarily at the bedside of the hospital, they're not, you know, the first thing I think of is in the school systems, they're always hiring nurses. What are the other non-traditional places people don't think to look that hire RNs?
We can't answer that question because we're all hiring you at Northeast
I
Medical.
knew that was gonna be her answer. I will tell you, we have the fortune to work with an amazing company, and so I do hope to cross paths with all of you at some point in a professional career. But the thing is, you always want to kind of start, and the other point that I didn't really get to there, I just wanted to kind of share openly and transparently is make connections. You're going to meet people that will get you into the door of, my career at Tulane, my career at HCA started at Tulane, where just a few simple connections, and now I know people all across the country. And you can leverage those relationships and connections and people, but there are opportunities in informatics. I've worked with nurses who actually, at our corporate office, are program managers. They literally just, when we try to roll out new programs, they manage all of that, they make sure it's clinically appropriate, they follow evidence-based practice, there's research. I don't know if any of you are interested in research, that's always a tough one. It took me a while to love and appreciate it. But there are so many opportunities. Holly, what do you?
Well, to what she was speaking of, school nursing, I will tell you, I did that in school. That was not my door. That was exhausting. You have no idea. These people see so many kids at school. Insurance companies, gyms hire people. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that start their own company.
Consulting.
People that, are health coaches. You can do just about anything with nursing. Some people like the office setting. That's not my path. But I have a friend that loves office nursing and did not enjoy the hospital. And she enjoys her team there and makes a very big difference with the physician and their practice. So I think you can do just about anything. And so I would encourage you to, if you are in the hospital and you're not enjoying some of that, there's a whole world out there. You got to get through the hospital stuff, but there's a whole world out there. And teaching, right?
Teaching.
So, where you get to mentor people again that make differences in people's lives. So I can't think.
Quality, infection prevention.
Absolutely.
There are lots of things that you can do that really lend to patient outcomes, and everything a nurse does lends itself to patient
Diabetes, wound care. We have a nurse that's just out a year, and she's one of our discharge experts. So she sits in the discharge lounge and prepares people to go home in a very safe way. So.
Any other questions? Curiosities about what?
You said you're like an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
So, could you talk a little bit about like the trauma 1 level unit that you were at?
Sure.
Or like just anything that emergency room, stuff like that, and what draws you to it?
I think that everyone will know kind of if they're an adrenaline junkie or not. It's not that people are really sick, and I've seen people come in with being impaled. I've seen motorcycle wrecks. I've actually held pressure on a head with an arterial bleed from a bullet wound. There are lots of things that you see that's really, it's kind of hard to describe. It's not that you enjoy that piece, but it is that people that really do that, and what I've always found, and if you're in EMS working in EMS, you kind of have that same
I brought them to
personality.
you.
She brought them to us. But there is something about being able to calm that situation. People that are really high energy tend to do well there. You know, people that can get really focused. I think sometimes I'm not as focused when I'm just kind of out running around in my day-to-day. But when I'm there, I'm hyper-focused on whatever's going on. And when you get to put 100% of your energy into a patient, you pull them in, and then I think it's that good feeling too, you know. I've never in my life tried drugs or any of those things, but to me, if that was what a high was like, it would be that. You kind of see this, you have this rush, but it's not when it goes wrong, but often it does go well, believe it or not. In level 1 trauma, you actually have a lot of really good stories. They may take a minute, but stabilizing that patient and being able to save them, and sometimes it's only for the fact that they get to see their family gets to see them for a last time, or whatever it is that gives closure to that family is really, I hate to say it's a really good feeling, but it is. Because I used to think when I was, you know, the mom of teenagers, as I would see teenagers come in, how traumatic that would be if you don't at least get to see them, or something go really wrong and you never get to have closure. So for me, it was always about how can we stabilize. It's about stabilizing someone. It's about really finding them at their worst, and you didn't always get to save them, but trying to get them to the next phase and at least try. So that's what I loved about it. It was a lot of energy, a lot of people in a room, but it's funny to watch that orchestrated in a really high-functioning department, because people learn to work in synchrony and with synergy. And you'll see the leader in the room really take control, and everyone knows what to do once you've worked together for a while. You really don't even have to talk. You don't even hear a lot of talking. I mean, there's a lot of rigid barking from 1 or 2 people to get things done, but that's just what I enjoyed. It just was fast paced. Now once you stabilize people, unless you're there on a Friday night, which we often call the Knife and Gun Club, but you get to this point to where you also have these lulls where you're just kind of calm, but then it just kind of cycles itself. Every shift you'll see something, and you get to see something different every day. It's never ever the same.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
So during nursing school, did you have a door that, you know, throughout the clinical rotations, did you have like a door that you felt, okay, this is where?
You know, I didn't tell you all of my disappointments, but I did. I really thought in nursing school that I was going to be a midwife someday. I loved L&D. I loved learning about that whole process. It was the one place I never worked. And I actually went into my first clinical, and I was getting ready to watch a childbirth, and was participating all gowned up, and all of a sudden mom went bad and baby went bad. Things were not going well, and I found that as long as this was going to be a joyous occasion, and I did have small kids at the time, that I was going to love L&D. I actually kind of ended up in a fetal position in the corner. Now, someone who has actually massaged a heart of an open chest, I have been there when we've opened guts and bellies, but watching a mom potentially lose her life during childbirth was never going to sit with me. So I realized right away that was not my door, and that's when I kind of started acclimating to other things. When I actually got to go do an ICU rotation, I fell in love. And what I didn't tell you is after my father passed away and I went back to nursing school, I actually did it as some tech hours as an oncology tech. I worked as a PCT on an oncology unit and on a psych unit. But there I actually made some connections too with the ICU team. And that's why I say that those connections are so important. As you're in a hospital, if you're interested in something, just go find out about it. Spend some time there. People will usually let you shadow. I made some friends in the ICU, started exploring there, and realized pretty quickly that was really where my heart was.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? At what point did you I guess struggle with separating yourself from like the hospital and your home life, like not taking that with you, I guess?
that's something we talk about a lot too, resilience and how you really take care of yourself. You know, it's hard to do that because we're human, and so you carry these things with you every day. It's really hard. I can tell you about a young man that I watched, and he was about the age of my children, who were a year apart, and it was really tough as I watched him every day, and I would go home and then I would come back, but I often would call or check on patients, or sometimes just visit with their families. I wouldn't necessarily go into the hospital room. I would let them, but if I were there, I would go by their families. But I don't recommend that. I was younger. I think that you do have to take care of yourself, your families. You know, I've heard Holly say it more than once. You know, it's God, family, and then work. You really have to find yourself a way to really segregate. But you're going to be emotional. Like I said, you're going to see people at their worst, and you're going to see them at their best. Take the days that they're at their best and really revel in that. It's great. And then when they're at their worst, you know what, we've talked about a little bit, and I was lucky to grow up in a faith-based hospital in Tennessee. So we had a very strong presence of chaplain. And so when I was having a bad day or if something was going wrong, I always leaned on them. And that's why I say find mentors, find people that can support you, have a support system through this whole journey, because you will need it. It's really important to have people to talk to. I mean, clearly you can't talk about specific things about patients, but you can get your emotions out, and you can, you know, share kind of, you need to download and debrief, but we've even talked about, and Holly, you can chime in, we've talked about how do you debrief and what do we do on the units, and I think that's one of our goals, is so that when there is a traumatic event or a difficult situation, we figure out how to let people debrief before they go home too. I think that's important for us to do that on the units, and there's actually a lot of evidence out there that says it's really helpful. But then when you go home, I think you do have to hang it on the shelf.
Encourage you, most days aren't gonna be like that.
No.
So you know, we both came from a EMS and trauma background. Most days are not gonna be like that. And depending on what you choose. What the literature would say though is the answer is not disconnecting. You know, sometimes people get an idea, well, I'm not gonna get close to patients, and I'm not gonna throw myself in because I don't wanna get burnt out, or I don't wanna take it home. That is what burns you out.
Yeah.
It's caring enough that you spend a few minutes thinking about the day and reflecting. I'm sure you will spend a lot of time doing reflective journaling in school, but that's what that's for, to make you healthier, you know, and to think about that, and to think what joy we have in the profession. And to Kim's point though, to be honest enough, and that's part of why you do that, that you know how you feel, and that you count on each other to talk about those things. And you will never meet people like nursing colleagues that understand what you're going through. You'll see that'll begin in school, but it also happens. You know why most people stay at Northeast Methodist? It's not Kim and I.
We know that's hard to believe.
It's because of each other. You know, people want to work with other people that care about them and that they can do this great work with. And the bosses and the charge nurses, the people that they work for. You always want to go to a place where you can be yourself, where people accept you for yourself, they make you a better self, and that they'll mentor you to your next level. And that doesn't always mean leaving a unit. You know, Kim's bounced around, I've bounced around a little bit, but you don't have to do that. And what you do have to do is enjoy the growth opportunity and say what's next and ask for feedback and grow. So.
And I will tell you to that point, never miss the opportunity. Like I said, you can disconnect once you've debriefed or done whatever it is that helps you get through it, but never miss an opportunity to hold the hand of a patient or their family, to separate yourself, because you will do yourself a disservice.
For each other.
For each other, yes. And nursing is a family, and I can tell you, many nights on third shift, we actually held hands at breakfast at IHOP. So you'll find those ways that you cope and you kind of have time with each other.
Other questions?
If not, I'll say I thank you for letting us share with you. I definitely do hope that our paths cross. I look forward to all of your success. I know that you'll all make nursing a much better place. Thank you.
If I could ask Jacob Archibald to please come up. Yeah. No, you're coming up. First we get the code, and then we give you your white coat. Okay. And now we can come and stand over there. Then over here. Caitlin Barone. Abigail Birch. Josefina, Madeline Baumgartner. Now Josefina Gargano. That was her code. Yeah, Josefina. That's good. Sorry, okay. Mia Gonzalez. Myra Guerrero. Rachel Ibarra. Stephanie Lucero. Samantha Renard. Jamie Robinson. Kelsey Say. Celeste Habit. Joffrey Zuckerman. And I'll ask Ms. Dana Selena Harrison. Who am I missing? This is Jane. Down there. What's her last name? And it was wrong from there to Robinson. Yeah, Megan Morris, I'm sorry.
She's like,
They all have the wrong codes.
Oh,
I'm
no
gonna
wonder.
wonder. From Morris to Robinson is wrong, but we'll fix it after.
Y'all have to put them in alphabetical order.
So say your name again.
Megan.
Yeah, Michael. I wonder why it was so tiny.
I know, right? Okay,
No, yours should be right.
yeah, now if y'all will move over here.
Come over here.
So they can see your faces.
So faculty, do you want to stand and join our students? You can stand where you are. All right, everybody, you got it? All right. As a nurse dedicated to providing the highest quality care and services, I solemnly pledge that I will, we're going to do this in unison, consider the welfare of humanity and relief of suffering my primary concerns. Act in a compassionate and trustworthy manner in all aspects of my care. Apply my knowledge, experience, and skills to the best of my ability to assure optimal outcomes for my patients. Exercise sound professional judgment while abiding by legal and ethical requirements. Accept the lifelong obligations to improve my professional knowledge and competence. Promote, advocate for, and strive to protect the health, safety, and rights of the patient. With this pledge, I accept the duties and responsibilities that embody the nursing profession. I take this oath voluntarily and with full realization of the responsibility with which I am entrusted by the public. You guys may be seated.
So I just wanted to say thank you to our special guests for coming and sharing your words of wisdom and encouragement for our students. And thank you to those who planned this event. I know Kelly and the hospitality committee and whoever else was participated in that. I just want to say thank you. And then to the students, I just wanted to say we are so proud of you that you've taken this next step in your journey. I want you to know that as faculty, we're here to encourage you, to educate you, to support you. We want to see you be successful. Don't ever lose sight of that. If you feel discouraged, if you feel down, that you haven't done as good as you wanted to do in something, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you. And so I just want to leave you with that. Keep motivated, support each other, motivate each other, encourage each other. We look forward to seeing what all y'all become in the next 2 years and on into the future, and are excited about your future successes. So thank you for coming today.